Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Migalski. Together with my guest experts, I cover topics ranging from cutting-edge healing modalities to hormonal harmony, to nutrition and plant medicine, to mindfulness and spirituality. My goal is to educate and inspire so you can create your own divine lifestyle. It's time to dive inward, rewire your brain, and heal from the inside out. Hey, beautiful soul fam. Please join Divine Lifestyles for a transformative and empowering women's healing retreat, October 16th through 22nd in Mexico. It's going to be a 6-night, 7-day experience that is designed to uplift your spirit, help you transcend trauma, and lead you towards a life of a renewed freedom and empowerment. Nestled in a serene and tranquil oasis, this amazing property in Cien Can provides the perfect sanctuary for you to nurture your body and embark on a journey of self-discovery, renewal, and of course, rejuvenation. Learn more at divinelifestyles.com/transcendence. Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I am your host, Tara Migalski, and today I am joined by the beautiful Lena Franklin, medicine woman, transpersonal psychotherapist, and founder of the East Institute, offering ancient practices of meditation, energy medicine, and psycho-spiritual healing to the modern world. The East Institute is a leading global organization integrating ancient indigenous ways of working with medicine and modern science. I'm so excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Tara, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored and excited for our conversation.
Yes. Well, we have so much to talk about. So let's use our time wisely and let's start out by, diving deep into your fascinating and potent work. But before we do that, I just wanted to share with the audience a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your spiritual awakening and what led you to this amazing work that you're now serving the world with.
Thank you so much. Gosh, where do I start? It's been quite the journey. And my spiritual work really, it starts in childhood, really, because I grew up in a Buddhist Christian home with an amazing mom from Vietnam who also carried a lot of ancestral trauma from her ancestors. But she, along with my dad, had this really interesting interweaving of Buddhism and Christianity. So my dad's Presbyterian, my mom was Buddhist. It was a very unconventional childhood, and it really set the foundation of the merging of East and West, of this really rich way of experiencing life, whether it was praying at the ancestral altar, during holidays, or going to the Buddhist temple with my mom and eating vegetarian food with the monks. But that really set up the foundation for my work in the world and really helped to create the foundation for me to discover my dharma, my soul's purpose, and really step into that in a really powerful way. So I say my mom was my first spiritual teacher in this lifetime. And she continued those teachings, but in a different way, because really my initial spiritual awakening happened when she very suddenly passed and transitioned from her body from a sudden stroke. When I was in my first year of graduate school at the University of Georgia, I was getting my master's in social work, and it was, it was traumatic. And she was my primary attachment parent. She was really my guide in many ways. And so it was through the portal of grief and the existential questions around, well, if our bodies can die so fleetingly, so suddenly, what's the meaning? What's the purpose of us being here as humans, souls in human form? And so through the grief and through that intensity, it was also the first time I was living alone in grad school. So I had a lot of solitude to be with the pain and to be with the suffering. And I found meditation in a more, I would say, formal or structured way. So my daily meditation practice started building from there. And in the moments of stillness, in the moments on my yoga mat, in the moments of like the dark night of the soul, knees on the floor in the bathroom moments, I began to feel the soul awakening in this, what I would call an energetic expansion of knowing there's so much more to this life than this physical form, and that this is just one aspect of why we're here, and one aspect that's one of many of our existence as multidimensional beings. And so that led me to a path of weaving in spiritual practices, meditation, energy work into my therapy practice. And that evolved from there, kind of down the line, that guided me to plant medicine. And I found plant medicine, and specifically the first medicine I began working with intensely and intentionally, was grandmother ayahuasca in Peru, when I was going through a pretty tumultuous divorce from my first marriage. And that was really symbolically the disintegration of a relationship that was symbolic of my attachment to what people thought. It looked beautiful on the outside. We were college sweethearts. We both played collegiate sports. I played soccer. He played basketball. But it was a vacant relationship in so many ways. And so when I internally decided that I needed to leave that marriage, that was the deepening that guided me to work with plant medicine, which really unveiled this whole other realm of multidimensional healing in a very accelerated way. And I began to go deeper into that work and connecting with really the medicine woman aspect of who I am. So I'll pause there. There's, of course, so much more to dive into, but those are two of the primary chapters in my life that were integral in my spiritual awakening, so I can embody the work and the medicine that I do today.
Wow, I didn't realize how similar our stories were. I don't know if I had shared this with you, but that was my first spiritual expansion. Was, down to the words you even said, like literally hands and knees on the ground. That was when I was 27, when I lost my mother suddenly.
Wow.
And I was 27 and I was on my spiritual journey, but it was just a big, big, big wake up call for me. And I had my existential crisis, just like you. That was where I got the download, Divine Lifestyles, literally in a moment of crying out to God, going, what am I here to do? That was when I got I call it the divine download now. And that was really the beginning for me to go much deeper into the yoga, the meditation. And it wasn't until most recently that I've really been diving deeper into plant medicine. But wow. So I see you, feel you, honor you, and hold you. I feel that I told you this when I met you. I was like, I feel like there's some synergy here. So that's really beautiful. So thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that. I know that your work is really potent. So I want to kind of just dive in a little bit there. Share with the audience a little bit about, the vision and the birth of the East Institute.
Yeah, thank you. And it's such an honor to connect with another sister on the path that is, there's that type of synergy. So I appreciate that. It's been an incredibly expansive, wild, adventurous, just journey of pure honor. At the same time, it's a whole new, like the psychedelic space is very much like the wild, wild west in many ways. And so going back to the birth of East really goes back to, what I was talking about, my own awakening, my own coming into this embodiment as a medicine woman. So when I began going deeper into my medicine work, around the same time, I deeply connected with my now husband, Jeff. And he's my, He's my twin flame. He's my deep soul partner. He is here to share an ancient medicine that moves through him that is very potent. And so we came together for the purpose of sharing this work in a really, I would call, specific way. So energetically, we were very connected to being a bridge between ancient ancient medicine work, both, psychedelic work and non-psychedelic work, and the modern world. So bringing this ancient healing into the modern world, which feels a little radical certain days, because we're here to really also rub the status quo of what it means to actually heal. And so there's that part too. So I remember this was after we were doing ceremonies. So East really started out of our old home. We had a cottage in the back, and we were doing ceremonies out of our cottage. I know, because I know you've shared this part of your journey.
I have a cottage here. We do the ceremonies here.
Yes. So yeah, so that's how it's, and beautiful. I mean, I miss this house in many ways, but it was like bamboo forest back there. We had a koi pond and just beautiful small cottage, and we would do the work together. So we would be in ceremonies with clients, and we would see them for sessions for preparation, integration, deeper spiritual work, energy medicine. And the capacity for 2 people is limited, and we were getting very full and booking out months and months. And there was a moment at night after ceremony. One night we were sitting on the back porch, and we just looked at each other. And what happened was almost this council of elders, and this message from this council of elders moved through us and basically sent the message that you're meant to bring this work, this ancient work, forth into the world, into the modern world, into places, where humans reside and exist. And we talked about what that would look like, the dedication and the energy it would take. And we looked at each other and we're like, all right, let's do it. And so from there, we started, of course, a few months later, we got a space, a physical space, ceremony space where we can do sessions and ceremony work. And we began building the East Institute. And it's been an incredible, we've grown and expanded over the past little over 2 years in a very accelerated way. We've learned a ton about what it means to bring this ancient work into the modern world, and also the art of discernment, what it means also to, there's a responsibility when we're sharing the ceremonial work that it's not transactional. It's actually a calling. So it's, when we connect with someone and they want to do the work, there's this really beautiful level of discernment that's needed to ensure that someone has the capacity to do this work, not just because they want it or can pay for it, or, there's a protection and an honoring of the sacred wisdom traditions that's very much needed, especially when it comes to our facilitator training and some of the deeper programs that take someone to their edge.
Mm-hmm. Now, you have studied all over the world, in Asia, Central America, South America. What are the lineages that you work with at East?
Yeah, so it's an integration. So for myself, the Q'ero from Peru, high up in the Andes, Incan elders, descendants of the Incas, also the Shipibo from the Amazon, the Mopan Maya from Belize. So I have a dear sister, Rosario Ponte, who is my teacher and also my dear friend and family member. And from the East, my maternal lineage of Mahayana Buddhism. And for Jeff, he brings the South American and Central American, but also the Taoist practices from the White Mountains in China, and shamanic practices from Siberia, in the tribe in Siberia. And so we interweave those together in our ceremony work. So, it's like we're instruments, and whatever medicine and energy is meant to move through us as we're working with a group or an individual is what's meant to come forth for that person's healing, that soul's healing. And of course, as we know, there's so many similarities between the different cultures and shamanic medicine traditions around the world, which is really beautiful to see,
So funny that you mentioned Siberian. So I just did an Akashic Records, and one of my past lives was as a Siberian shaman.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So as
Wow.
you said that, I was like, ding. Yeah.
Amazing.
So it's interesting, like, because I was, when you do these different readings and things, and then memories start to come, and things, synchronicities start to make themselves present. But one thing that I want to talk about, which I think is super important, is your work really focuses on the need for the ethics, right?
Yeah.
And the interdependence and like really honoring the wisdom and the traditions.
Yes.
So when you talk, because you've talked to me about this sacred reciprocity when it comes to working with plant medicine and psychedelics, can you just expand on what you mean when you say that?
Yeah, this is so important. It's one of our core values in everything we do. And sacred reciprocity is a great, great place to start when it comes to ethics and holding the medicine with integrity. We call sacred reciprocity from our Peruvian shamanic culture, Ayni, Ayni, is sacred reciprocity. And what that means is that you are in energetic balance when you're working with these lineages and the energy and the medicine. When I say medicine, I mean psychedelic plant medicine and not the ceremonial aspects, working with the four elements, working with the wisdom, the energy of the wisdom keepers and the elders, that you are holding a deep level of reverence and respect, and also giving resources back to those communities where the wisdom traditions come from. Because without that support, the money energy support, the love support, there's a lack of preservation of those wisdom traditions. So the preservation piece, it's like if we're not honoring the origin of where these come from, then eventually the origin's going to dry up or be damaged, So there has to be that sacred reciprocity. And it's the same with Mother Earth. These beautiful medicines come from our beloved Pachamama, Mother Earth. And so are we living in energetic balance with her? As none of us are perfect, but as sustainably as possible, are we, are we preventing from being in this kind of consumer hyper, the shadow side of the hyper masculine, taking from without giving back? So we want to cultivate harmonious sacred reciprocity, especially if we're working with lineages, wisdom traditions, and sacred plant medicines, because that's what's going to help to heal humanity and the planet, that harmonious energetic exchange. And it's really important to us. We give about 20% of what comes into East back to those communities. So for us and for this work, it's about cultivating a really healthy ecosystem consciousness. So an ecosystem that is no different than a healthy ecosystem we may see on our planet. So that's the energy that we're here to really cultivate.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so important because it's so true. And with what we're seeing happening with psychedelics becoming the new mainstream thing, well, let's talk about that. What do you think are some of the advantages and disadvantages
Yeah.
of psychedelics becoming more mainstream?
Yeah, it's a question I sit with all the time. And there's tremendous advantage around the potential for accelerated healing for our human family and for the planet whether we're talking about, and of course, from our standpoint, we really very much support the natural plant medicines that come directly from the earth versus the synthetic medicines that are created in the lab. Now, there's a place for it, of course. I have my own feelings about ketamine and other synthetics, but I also believe that, we need to be inclusive and to create an ecosystem in the psychedelic space rather than to create competition and judgment, because I see a lot of that out there in the space because it's becoming commodified. Plant medicines are becoming commodified. And we're still, of course, it's like we're working within the matrix of, corporate based system of making money. So, you see all sorts of like wild things in the psychedelic space. It's like, oh, someone wants to, patent a plant that comes from, Mother Earth. It just feels like it is the antithesis of what these medicines were put here for. So I see a lot that I don't necessarily agree with. And also, I think it's important to have the conversations that may be, contradictory towards each other in order to create progress. So, again, kind of going back to whether it's synthetic medicine or natural plant medicine, truly one of the most important factors is the ethics around the medicine work, the proper assessment for the capacity of someone's psyche, of someone's energetic systems, their trauma history, knowing the contraindications, that they're properly assessed. So there's a risk of that harm being done. Do they have the capacity to hold the work? And then, of course, the proper preparation and integration, because the truth is, we're not in the jungles of Belize or, Peru. There has to be a radical personal responsibility to the integration process that's taken on by the client, owned by the client, in order for the plant medicine work and the psychedelic work to have long-lasting benefits. And then there are some risks when someone doesn't take responsibility for their own integration process. So overall, I feel like it's a very positive movement, but within anything new, there's going to be a shadow that we need to work out. And I think we do that by coming to the table with really heartfelt, honest conversations.
I've got an exciting offer for all of my listeners. The free Divine Daily Practices video series. Get simple practices to release anxious thoughts, sharpen your intuition, and rewire your nervous system in less than 10 minutes a day. Come on over to my website at divinelifestyles.com/divine daily practices. And over the next week, you'll receive a complimentary self-care system to drop into your authentic self and activate your divine intuitive wisdom. I hope you enjoy. Yeah, and you're doing a lot of public speaking. I see you all over at a lot of these summits and keynote conferences. So I just honor the work that you're doing because you're really at the forefront. And that leads me to kind of into the next question about conscious new earth leadership. What do you believe that is?
Yeah. I believe that there are, well, first of all, I believe every soul in human form is here for a very important reason. There's separations and illusion, right? Interdependence is our true nature. So we're all a part of this ecosystem. We're a part of this universe together. And we all have a dharma, a soul's purpose that we came into this life to fulfill. There is a divine destiny. It's almost like the greatest potentiality we have as a soul in human form for this particular lifetime, which is why I think plant medicines are coming to the forefront, because they're helping us to move into that potentiality and to embody our power in this accelerated way. It's a very wild time to be alive because there's there's like both an evolving, many souls are evolving, but at the same time, everything contains its opposite. So there's a devolving happening as well. And those are happening simultaneously in order to come back to unity consciousness, which is what collectively we're working towards, whether we're conscious of it or not. We're all energy, and that's what's happening collectively. So when it comes to New Earth leadership, I do feel that there are particular souls who incarnated into a particular body, a particular identity in this, on this earth plane, to be activators, to be leaders in this evolution of consciousness. Now, these are, for the most part, more evolved souls, if we want to use that verbiage. Doesn't mean they're better or worse than other souls who are younger. It just means that they have a certain role. So it's not better or worse. It's just a certain role. And I want to be clear about that because there's a lot of misconception, about what it means to be, an older soul. And it's just objective. The older souls, they've learned more of the lessons. They've had more lifetimes to have soul wounds to heal. And in the healing, they come back into the knowing and the remembrance of who they are at soul level. So these more evolved older souls are here to be guides, to light the way for humanity and to hold the light in a way that activates the shadow, because we can't heal what we're not aware of. So there's actually this like kind of amazing catalyst of alchemy that happens. And the reality is these new earth leaders are meant to trigger others. They're meant to be revolutionary. They're meant to go first and walk first and guide the way with their light and their medicine, whatever their medicine is, whether it's being an instrument for plant medicine or meditation or energy work. There's a divine blueprint that these new earth leaders have. And, I see that so powerfully in you. I see that in so many of the people that I'm honored to know, friends and beyond that I'm connected with. And we're coming together, even in this conversation, there's an energy, there's a medicine that our souls are co-creating, that we're putting into the world. And that's such a sacred responsibility.
I'm like emotional. I just got the chills, full body chills. When I had originally reached out to you, gosh, it was over a year ago now. I was like, hi, we need to be friends. I want to read you something that I posted today, and it says, maybe she's born with it, or maybe it's meditation, self-discovery, shadow work, rituals, reprogramming belief systems, healing ancestral trauma, and unpacking suppressed emotions. And it was just so timely that I saw that on Instagram right before I jumped on with you. I was like,
yeah.
Or it's all the work that she's been doing.
I love that so much. I have to go after this. I'll have to go repost it because that resonates so much. And it's interesting. Thank you for sharing that, because what's coming through, Tara, as you shared that, is that my soul's been on a really interesting journey in that I've always said yes to things before I was consciously ready for it. So it was like my soul would say yes, and then I would catch up to it and the healing would happen. And it was like my soul was like dragging my human form to continue to accelerate and activate, because there's a sense of urgency. And, there's like, of course, upsides and downsides, light sides and shadow sides to that. But my path, has been pretty fiery. And that's just kind of the dharma that I've been guided to walk. So thank you for reminding me of like, all the courage, and really allowing myself to take that in, that it's been a courageous journey.
Oh, it is the most courageous journey when we actually do the work on ourselves. It is. And same with me, very fiery. I am full of fire.
Yeah.
Full of fire. So I see you, I meet you, I am that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the different medicines that you are working with? Because I know you have an upcoming retreat. Are you working just with psilocybin or still with ayahuasca?
Yeah, so right now we're primarily working with a few different strains of psilocybin when it comes to the predominant parts of our work with the East Institute and the East Method. So the East Method is our flagship 90-day healing and transformational program, and it includes 12 sessions and 3 ceremonies. And the ceremonies can either be group or individual, depending on someone's needs and also their trauma history and what kind of sacred container is most aligned for them energetically. So we find that psilocybin just has a really wide application when it comes to psycho-emotional conditions, when it comes to trauma reprocessing, and that being in the 3.5 4 hour ceremony with psilocybin, that duration, kind of that longer duration versus like a quicker hit of a different psychedelic medicine, it works on the default mode network in this consistent way over time, which we see with our clients results in more long-term neural pathway repatterning that anchors, again, for the rest of that person's life, given they choose to do their long-term integration work. So we love our mushroom medicine, and we're honored to work with the little wise ones. And this needs to come through because I didn't share it when you were talking about the lineages. We very much honor the Mazatec lineage and Maria Sabina's work in the world, and bringing that forth because, in her human form, she wasn't honored, ultimately for the medicine work that moved through her. So that's a big part of, at least I can speak for myself, like my passion to bring her through and to honor her in the Mazatec lineage. So yeah, psilocybin and then ayahuasca when we go to Peru. So we have an annual trip to Peru, Expand Peru, and we actually just shifted the date. So we're going September, I believe it's 21st through 29th of 2024. And we are so excited. It's a spiritual initiation trip. Literally the whole time we're traveling with our shamanic family, the Caro, and our brother from the Amazon, Maestro Pablo, and he facilitates the ayahuasca ceremony, and we co-facilitate with him. So that's really special to be, in that co-creation and that rich multidimensional container with grandmother ayahuasca, our teacher, and also our brother. And so we're there facilitating and doing the work together with the group. And it's just this incredible journey of receiving the different rites of the Moonai Key. So at each sacred site, everyone's receiving an initiation into a different rite of the Moonai Key. So it's a very powerful, powerful, powerful energetic trip. So right now, those are the 2 primary medicines that we're working with, and we'll see what unfolds.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you also have some other amazing things that you're working on, the Being Method and your meditation membership. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the Being Method moved through me, goodness, probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Again, time. I'm like, Jeff and I always joke, we're always like on shaman time. We have no idea, what day it is or anything. But, a handful of years ago, the Being Method moved through me, and it's a structured 5-week mindfulness and meditation course. And the way that mindfulness meditation, the teachings move through me, it has a very energetic component. So like each day we'll have a meditation, so a channel, and I always channel my meditation. So a channeled meditation specifically for that day, a self-inquiry question, and then other exercises to really deepen one's capacity to embody their present moment awareness. And what I find, and from the people that have taken the course, it's like it clears the cobwebs to reveal the clarity, the strength, and the anchoredness of our mind that's always there, but gets clouded with, of course, all the things and all the, day-to-day humanness that we experience. So the being method is, and it's a really accessible, I want to share that's an accessible access point into this work. And, for me, like whether it's meditation or breath work or ceremony work with plant medicine or grounding, earthing outside, like it's all medicine. My medicine and the energetic blueprint of the medicine that moves through me is within all of these teachings. So yeah, excited to share the being method, that course. And then the meditation membership is this beautiful archive of different channeled meditations that have moved through me. And they're organized by category, which I love because, when I use guided meditations, I'm feeling something. Maybe I need groundedness. Maybe I'm feeling anxious about something coming up. Maybe I'm feeling like I want to work with the money codes or the abundance that's meant to move through me. So in the membership, you'll see those categories and you can choose what's calling to you for that particular day or that morning, that afternoon, night, whenever you're meditating. And it's all there at your fingertips. And yeah, and I want to share that I channel those meditations over many years. So it's kind of like a compilation of my meditation teaching work over time, which makes it, juicy and potent for people.
I love that. That's a beautiful offering for this audience as well. So I'll make sure that those links are in the show notes.
Thank you.
But as we close out here, could you share with the audience the most insightful piece of advice you have received?
I'm going to have to tune in for this one. So just give me a moment. Yeah. So what's coming through is something that my brother and teacher, Maestro Pablo, so he's the ayahuasca we work with from Pucallpa. And I sense this is coming through because of the very alchemical season I'm moving out of. Like there's definitely like an upgrade, kind of up level happening. And so there's been a tremendous amount of shedding, which has been painful and purposeful. And so because we're in this moment in time on this earth plane, I would like to share this message from Maestro Pablo for the listeners and whoever's meant to hear it. And it's a message that says, he said to me, when you know why you're here, and when you know your medicine, you will always be safe and protected. And many people won't understand your medicine, embody it, and share it anyhow. It's important for us to remember that.
That's a beautiful way for us to close out this interview. Thank you so much for being here today. I will make sure that every link possible to get in touch with you and learn about your work is in the show notes.
Thank you so much. And Tara, thank you for the medicine that moves through you in this beautiful divine feminine like strength and just radiance. So I see you, sister. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Divine Lifestyles Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your episodes. If you really loved this episode, screenshot it and share it on social media. It will help us to continue to make an impact. With gratitude and love always, keep illuminating your path.